Nightly Musers, followers of the pod, faithful few and hopeful many, this is Anchor by Spotify. If you haven't heard about it, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's the very platform that allows me to give you what I give you on the nightly. So let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And it gives you the ability to distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally FREE free. So here's where you come in. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is ANCHOR.fm to get started. Thank you very much. Peace. Welcome to the Nightly Muse. I am your host, Tinayeshe. Shout out Lowfly. On the road again. Apologies. I'm gonna be blasting y'all with 3 episodes at once. Rather than trying to just push it out, we're just gonna upload them all and get the content out to you. It was a good day. It was a good week. This whole process of recording and decision making and trying to figure out all the stuff to make this happen like it's supposed to is a lot of fun. It can be nerve-wracking and stressful, but for the most part, it is an extremely enjoyable experience. I can't remember if I said shout out Lowfly, but if I did, then I said it twice, and then I'll say it again at the end of the show, and it'll be more than normal, but completely necessary. I got to hang out with one of my friends from my old high school, and he's like a big bro to me. Pat, I love you. One of the best basketball players I got to see on one of the best basketball teams I got to see, and that speaks a lot given the fact that I got to watch Stephen Curry as a kid growing up in high school. And I mean, everything barring walking on water, I thought that man was, superhuman as a kid. And so to say that about Pat's team with that whole gang, they were phenomenal. Anyway, it's wild playing basketball with people that really, really played. I can get hot every once in a while and start draining, but to know that you can just decide that I'm gonna make threes now, contested, uncontested, high percentage shot, low percentage shot, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna shoot it, and I'm better than you. That's an amazing feeling that I've quite honestly never experienced. I've experienced feeling like I can't miss, but I've never felt like I'm just deciding not to miss now. And I got to watch that firsthand today, and that was pretty cool. But the thing that was even cooler was that we got to catch up about our lives, current, and just some things that we learned in our high school background. And I've said this on my other podcast, shout out Life in Between, hosted by Tinayeshe and Tinayeshe Mushayamunda. I am not a Mushayamunda, but I'm a Manyika. I should have said my last name as well, but it's too late now. We're moving on. It was about, I think it was accountability. I said, with great power comes great responsibility, but without accountability, that great power can lead to corruption. I think that is what I said. Corruption and abuse. I'll say it again. With great power comes great responsibility. But without accountability, that great power slowly becomes corruption and abuse. And it bothers me to my core hearing stories about like being a minority in general is hard. I am extra sensitive to minorities, specifically African Americans, because I think that racism and othering, social injustice, all of the things that they had to go through, I say they, always some cool guy with their loud motorcycle or car. I hope he feels important. Anyway, I say they and not we because I am African American literally by definition. My heritage is Zimbabwe, but my location of birth is America. So I'm American by location, and I am Zimbabwean African by heritage. African American. Anyway, I feel more sympathy as it pertains to the African American in the traditional sense in America, because when you talk about imperialism, colonization, the scramble for Africa, it was Europeans, white people, the French, the British, the Germans, the Spanish, Portuguese, coming to a different continent to try to, I was explaining this to somebody, America technically was England's only, really, one might say Europe's only success story in the sense of actual colonies. It backfired because America then fought for independence. But they successfully went to another continent, colonized it, and created a nation. Granted that, again, that nation was birthed from independence and another, like a war. So technically, it's not a colonial success story, but it is a success story of a nation being born from colonization. All of the others, specifically in Africa, the native country, even Haiti, the native country got independence from the people that were trying to colonize it. That doesn't mean like that the white people like went away. It just meant that the people who lived there before colonization was taking place, historically speaking, got their land back, got ownership back. And as a result, Zimbabwe, though English is still one of the main languages, right? The consequences, the reverberations of colonialism or colonization still, are felt to this day, i.e. Cameroon speaking French, Nigeria speaking English. Like, there are a lot of places that, because of colonization, have changed their native tongue. That's for sure. That's very clear. But the point of all of this is to say, I know where I come from. I don't have to use ancestry dot whatever 23 and we, like, I don't have to use any of those resources to get an approximation of where I'm from, or a like percentage. Like, I can do that to find out like my full whatever, but it's gonna tell me what I already know for the most part. My ancestry hails from Zimbabwe. I got some Portuguese sprinkled in there from my grandmother's side, and like Mozambique. Pretty much Zimbabwe and its bordering countries are where my heritage is from, for the most part, with some Europe in there. Don't know where it's from, and my complexion does not show it, but that's again for another day. I know where I'm from, and one of the effects of slavery is you are stripped, you are robbed of the, like, you are robbed of the assurance of your heritage. You can't know, like, it truncates drastically. Like, your lineage really stops here. You don't know where you came from because your identity, your last name, like your everything was changed. And that is a tough reality. That is a tough place to be. And when you're in predominantly white spaces, you can be reminded of the fact that you, one, feel like you are the odd one out, like you don't belong. And on top of feeling like you don't belong, you don't know where you should belong, because you can only specify by saying I'm from a continent. And that sucks. Anyway, my dude and I, we were catching up and kind of sharing our stories about things that we went through, really laughing about it, but also saying like, man, it's somewhat of a huge blessing that as a kid, you don't have the ability, or you're not, I was not as confrontational as a kid as I am now. I wasn't, and I'm still relatively mild-mannered, and my natural response when somebody like disrespects me in the moment isn't to immediately bounce back. It's like, or bite back. I'm usually like very thought through, calm, collected. My thoughts are all together. And then like maybe after the fact I might fume, which that is something I need to grow in learning how to, like, in the moment say how I feel. But sometimes I haven't processed how I feel to really know. Like, anyway, that's me. But even more so as a kid, there was, on top of that, like, reality of that I was slow to engage in conflict. There was also like I was more passive. And so we were talking about how that in some ways was our saving grace, because if some of the things that happened to us as children happened to us as adults, like, I would have had the cops called on me for fighting somebody, or I wouldn't have, like, I've said regularly, like, if I would have gone to Liberty, that was the school I wanted to go to, if I would have gone to that university, I probably would have made it a semester. Because as soon as I got out of high school, out of that framework, my mindset of school, for better or worse, changed. It was no longer you're a representation of your family, your parents are, I'm the one paying back these loans. I'm the one who has to. So at the end of the day, if I go to class or not, that's on me. But like the whole like asking to go to the bathroom thing because I was like, that was some high school mess. I don't do that no more. I'm grown. If I need to go to the restroom, I'm gonna get up. And if you have a restroom policy, I will spitefully, like, I low-key was on some spiteful mess. But my thing was like, yo, I shouldn't have to ask you for permission to use the restroom. Like, who do you think you are? Like, I get it, in high school, people are irresponsible. But I'm also like, in college, even if I was being irresponsible, who does it affect? Me. You get paid the same. Nothing changes. And granted, in school, like in high school, I'm not saying that this is the right mindset, but I'm just saying, like, in high school, this is my parents' money. I'm not trying to waste my parents' money. Like, granted, in college, yes, my parents were like assisting at times, but for the most part, I'm the one paying back these loans. So like, I'm not out here actively trying to be a bad student, but sometimes teachers would be on some power trip stuff that made me be like, yo, like, who? So I think that dynamic already was different for me in college. Again, learning how to express my autonomy in a healthy way, but also being confronted with like, hey, yo, like, I'm grown. Like, I don't talk to me like that. And being very sensitive to that, because I was in spaces before where people, they weren't rude to me for the most part, but like, you hear things and you just kind of let it roll off your back. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, whew. Anyway, so we were kind of talking about that in terms of how we both dealt with that growing up. And the thing that has bothered me, like I said, with great power comes great responsibility. Without accountability, that power